Darius Garland is a lightning-quick 6'2" and 175-pound guard originally from Gary, Indiana. He spent a short season of college basketball at Vanderbilt under Bryce Drew, the man who always looks like he's getting ready to take an offering, hold the hands of an older lady, thank her for her green bean casserole, and pray. Darius is the son of Winston Garland, a bucket getter himself who spent 8 seasons in the NBA with a variety of teams from 1987 to 1995. Garland the Younger is a painter with the basketball, but he's somewhat of a mystery, having suffered a season-ending meniscal injury to his left knee after only 5 games. Garland came onto the greater NBA draft radar after the 2018 Nike Hoop Summit game, where he showed off a dazzling ability to shoot the ball. But has he improved since then? Is he offensively malleable across the landscape of the NBA? Is Stephen Root the funniest damn dude of all time? Let's discuss, shall we? The NBA game is wider and faster than ever. We have seen this. It is known. The teams that have embraced this movement effectively are made up of several dynamic offensive pieces. More specifically, the most devastating offensive weapons in the modern NBA are high-efficiency, live dribble shooters because of the gravity that they demand and the difficult choices that ripple throughout any given sequence as a result of their talents. It's one of the most skill-demanding aspects of basketball for obvious reasons. To be mobile and accurate from a distance is a tricky thing to do, and the folks that are doing that the best are, simply put, the best. Darius Garland fits this basic mold. He's fantastic as a live dribble shooter, he's consistent shooting off the catch, and he's money coming off of screens with extensive range. There are instances of him without a gathering step shooting the ball from around 27 feet with virtually no problem. If you bother his first look, Garland's technique and quickness when relocating as a shooter are also very good, and he doesn't seem to have a directional preference. Garland shoots an effortless ball that has beautiful touch and spin, and if you watch the way his shots come at the rim, they often look good even when he misses. His shot is exceptionally quick and always threatening to pop off. He's a bit like Trae Young in the fact that he brings the ball a tad below his waist as he's loading up into his shot pocket, which makes me think that his quick release could get even quicker if he started his motion a bit higher, sort of in the way that someone like Steph Curry does. Along with Cam Johnson, Tyler Hero, Dylan Windler, and Ty Jerome, I think that Darius Garland is one of the best shooters in this draft. In a small college sample, he went 11 for 23 from 3 for 48%. His ability to utilize his great touch in every situation is still a work in progress, but against lower competition at Brentwood and even at times at Vanderbilt, Garland's isolation sequences were electrifying. The speed of his lateral movement with the ball is incredible, and it's the type of left to right dribble quickness that makes your ankles hurt just watching. Although Garland's quickness with the ball in space is impressive, and his lightning-fast release is a joy to watch, Darius is not a remarkable athlete in terms of size or measurements. This isn't the worst thing in the world, but it gives a player very little to lean on in terms of tools, and defensively it calls for them to be mentally and positionally sound. I expect it to be a little bit of a struggle early on and possibly throughout his career. He's not much of a disruptor on or off the ball. His instincts in terms of anticipation are average, and I don't expect him to be a switchable piece for whoever drafts him. He also doesn't have a plus wingspan or great size, so corrective defensive ability is off the table. Recovery will depend solely on his feet, and even though that's an improvable area, he more or less has no choice but to become a great communicator and a positionally solid player. You're going to be able to nitpick individual plays where he took a terrible approach or got totally lost, because there were plenty. He was a freshman point guard. Since teams desperately want to create open looks from 3, stopping the ball is hugely critical for players in Darius Garland's role. Penetration leads to rotation, and rotation leads to easy looks. It's all connected. It's not a hopeless cause, but Garland will have to do some work to avoid being a defensive minus. I'd be surprised if he's ever a plus on that side of the ball, but physicality aside, I'd say that Garland is more of an immature defender than an incapable one. There's a difference between lack of ability and simply being misguided. I'd much rather direct energy and effort that exists than try to motivate or create it where it doesn't. It hardly predicts success, but his attentiveness and energy on and off the ball is fine, and I generally got the feeling that he was battling and making an effort. Garland claims to be a pass-first point guard.
I think I'm a pass-first point guard.
But I don't think that this aspect of the game comes as naturally to him. Some point guards are like acupuncturists, or that guy that played the big organ from the Interstellar soundtrack. The flow of the game is like a complex instrument that they can instinctively prod, manipulate, and play on a lot of levels. In this sense, Garland can often seem short-sighted and stilted and out of rhythm. Yes, you could very easily fire back and say, "Hey doofus, Vanderbilt was a freshman-heavy team, and that explains their clunky half-court chemistry, dumbass." That was a factor, but these things were happening for Darius Garland before college, too. Garland's often holding the ball a second too long, over-penetrating with the assumption that he can score and being left with nowhere to go, throwing simple passes a bit off the mark in what should be an advantage situation, or just flat out not seeing something easy.
See me.
My guess is that each of these errors is impacted by his preference to score in any given situation. For a player of Garland's size, this stuff really matters because separation evaporates when you can't quite identify or execute the right play at the right time. The angle might not be there. He might not be able to get the pass off. His real-time situational feel seems to be a little bit off. Garland at times can seem like he's surprised at how capable the defenders are at this level, whereas in the past he could just cook inferior players off the dribble and get his own offense. This is a totally normal thing for young point guards, but I think that it could be part of Garland getting acclimated to this level of competition. In his 5 games at Vanderbilt, Synergy recorded 41 possessions, over 52% of the time, where Darius worked out of the pick and roll. And despite those playmaking struggles, he still finished in the 92nd percentile, scoring a point per possession. I don't necessarily see this so much as a terminal illness that'll damn his career, but more of a pain point in his development. This will be the diverging path between him becoming a second unit offensive tool and a guy who can take the reins of an offense and potentially become a big time contributor. Way crazier things have happened, but I lean more towards the former than the latter. Garland's shooting as a pick-and-roll ball handler is already so effective that he's seeing hard hedges and traps a large majority of the time. That's gravity that can and should be flipped into 4-on-3 or 3-on-2 advantages for whoever he plays with. But if those advancing passes aren't made, it's a wash. In 5 college games, Garland turned the ball over 15 times and assisted only 13 times. Since not everybody watches college basketball, you often hear comps that serve as elevator pitches, and those comps can sometimes hang around whether they make sense or not. Kyrie Irving has been a popular one for Darius Garland, and while I see how people got there, I don't really agree. Alright, I'm being nice, I don't agree at all, I think it's ridiculous. First of all, let's be clear about something. Kyrie might be the most creative and versatile off-the-bounce scorer of all time. His contemporaries are virtually non-existent. It's like Allen Iverson, Tiny Archibald. Those are a couple of the guys in this echelon of players that are under 6'3", mostly isolation-focused scorers with some blend of playmaking instinct mixed in there. Kyrie is a guy that gets really low with his dribble and navigates tight spaces well, and as finishers, I don't think that these two guys are on the same planet. Irving is a master of shots with angular English and floaters in traffic. He's got that playground DNA in his game, and I don't know that Garland has that. Garland can hit some of those shots, but he's not as ambidextrous as Kyrie, and where layup making is a strength for Uncle Drew, I wouldn't say that it is for Nephew Darius. Kyrie might be the best layup maker ever to play. Garland, on the other hand, often seems to lack confidence finishing with his left hand, and once Garland enters traffic, he tends not to come out the other side. This makes me think that Darius is more in the mold of a Jason Terry or someone like a Jamal Murray. To me, he's more in the template of guards who lean on excellent shot mobility but aren't big-time finishers, playmakers, or vertically explosive. There's a lot of joy and flair and energy to Darius Garland's game, and he's obviously very fun to watch. He's bubbling with confidence, and he has an engaged energy that does seem like it could be guided in a productive direction. Those surface-level traits can be enticing, but is he the focus of an NBA team? I'm not so sure that he is. At the same time, I think that Darius's offensive talent is too great for him to totally fail. My gut tells me that he's the kind of guy that will stick around in the league for a long time as a rotation-level player. His size, his feel, his finishing, and his defensive challenges, those will be the swing variables that dictate whether or not he can ascend beyond that. Let me know if you agree. Hey folks, I appreciate you watching, and if you like this video, click the like button and be sure to subscribe. You can also follow me on Twitter at jkyleman. Say hey.